Dirt poor and desperate, I'd worked up the nerve to sign up for a money-saving reality show, survive an entire month on just 500 yuan. Whoever saved the most in the end would walk away with 5 million. Naturally, most people's first instinct was to live off instant noodles and steamed buns, or even cut down to one meal a day just to scrape by. But to me, that was child's play. Wasn't this whole thing just a contest of who could be the cheapest? When it came to pinching pennies and working every angle, I was practically a legend in the making. On the first day of filming, I was up before dawn. I felt my way out of the dorm from memory and jogged along the empty street outside. I had no idea that, at that very moment, viewers on the live stream chat were already cursing me out for being an idiot. I figured everyone would just sleep the day away to save energy and skip meals. I didn't expect anyone to be up this early. It's still dark out, where's he even going? Don't tell me he's out here jogging, that's just plain dumb. Shouldn't he be saving his energy right now instead of burning calories he can't afford to lose? Ugh, I can't watch this. So stupid. Let me on that show instead. I could lie in bed for 48 hours straight without eating or spending a cent. Who has time for self-discipline right now? This isn't some idle audition. If he wanted to show off, he should have signed up for a talent competition instead. Putting him on this show is a total waste of a spot. I jogged for about 10 minutes, and the chat spent about 10 minutes roasting me for it. Finally, I stopped in front of a pharmacy. The moment I pulled a flyer out of my pocket, the comments exploded, because right there in bold letters, it read, "Free eggs. Step 1 of my money-saving plan, work every freebie you can find." The flyer in my hand was for a place called CUN Pharmacy, promoting a free health drive, 30,000 eggs given away daily. Deals like this were gold among the elderly crowd, so you had to show up early to have any shot at getting some. That's exactly why I'd dragged myself out for a morning jog. By 8:30, the sky had fully brightened, the pharmacy doors opened, and a long line of elderly folks had already formed behind me. The pharmacy clerk gave me an odd look. I was standing right at the front, the only young guy in a sea of grandparents. He quickly shook off his surprise and politely pointed at a sign-up sheet on the table. "Just write your name and phone number here, and you'll get your free eggs." I calmly picked up the pen and, without hesitation, scrawled down a phone number. Then I strolled back to the dorm with a pound of eggs in hand, feeling pretty pleased with myself. The chat lit up again. Okay, my bad for judging too early. Wow, he didn't have to starve and he didn't break any rules, that's a solid freebie run. Now I'm curious what else this guy's got up his sleeve. Sure, mooching free stuff works, but you'd need nerves of steel to shrug off all those weird looks people give you. As a young person myself, I'd honestly be too embarrassed to do that. Embarrassed about what, exactly? What's there to be ashamed of? Why would you feel embarrassed about this? Is it because your pride is worth less than a pound of eggs? Can pride fill your stomach? With a free pound of eggs in hand, my food situation for the next couple of days was basically solved. The dorm kitchen was shared space, all the contestants had to cook there. The production team had thoughtfully stocked basic cookware and seasonings, so all I had to do was rinse things off before whipping up a delicious egg breakfast. Just then, Meng Wei happened to come downstairs and heard noise coming from the kitchen. She quietly crept over. "You bought that many eggs?" She stared at the eggs sizzling in the pan and unconsciously swallowed. Who could resist waking up to a couple of perfectly fried eggs? "Need any help?" I gave her a polite smile. "No thanks." As soon as I said it, the only sound left was the sizzle of the pan, and an awkward silence settled in. Meng Wei waited and waited for me to offer, but I never did. Want to share some with me? Maybe Fu Yansheng was genuinely oblivious, or maybe he just had zero social awareness, so what if I kept a few eggs for myself when I had that many? It's not like she could finish them all anyway. Some people just don't understand basic courtesy. Humph. The thought of going out to buy breakfast crossed her mind, but aside from instant noodles, she couldn't think of anything else cheap enough. Still, a free meal was a free meal, and she wasn't about to pass it up. Meng Wei smiled and tried a different approach. "Those eggs look great. You're up early, I just woke up and haven't eaten yet." If he still didn't catch that hint, he was clearly doing it on purpose. I set the finished eggs on a plate, my tone flat. "Then quit standing there watching me eat and go get your own. I'd love to make myself some eggs too, cheap and filling." I didn't budge, just put the leftover raw eggs into the fridge with my name taped on it. "Then go buy your own outside." This guy's completely unmovable. Is it just me, or does this girl seem like she's trying to freeload off him? Even I can tell she's after his eggs. How does she not realize he's onto her? Or maybe he does realize it, and he's just letting her save face by not calling her out directly? Normally I wouldn't have minded sparing a couple of eggs, but right now we were competitors, and everyone got an equal shot at the same opportunities. This wasn't some life or death situation. Why should I help Meng Wei save money by mooching off me? Do I look stupid to her? Seeing me carry my plate over to the table and sit down, Meng Wei shamelessly let out a long sigh. "I don't even know if the market sells just 2 eggs. I didn't want to buy as many as you did, I was worried I couldn't finish them before they went bad in this heat." She might as well have just said, "Give me 2 eggs," outright. I picked up my chopsticks and grabbed a fried egg, cooked to golden perfection on both sides, crispy outside and tender inside. Watching me take a bite, Meng Wei swallowed again, and her stomach growled pathetically. I finished chewing slowly before finally speaking. They won't go bad, there's a fridge right here. Go take a look around the neighborhood first, and if you really can't find anywhere selling just 2 eggs, I can sell you a couple later. Meng Wei thought she'd misheard and repeated it in disbelief. Sell me 2 eggs? All I wanted was a free bite to eat. Was he really that petty, insisting on charging me for 2 eggs? You heard me right. Meng Wei's expression cracked. Fu Yencheng, we're filming this show together, we'll be seeing each other for the next month. It's just 2 eggs, and you're actually going to charge me for them? My eyes carried a hint of feigned innocence. You're a grown adult and you have no shame mooching off me. Why should I feel bad about charging you? Meng Wei's face went completely dark. Who's mooching off anyone? I'll go buy my own. Once she left, I quickly finished my breakfast, washed my plate, and headed upstairs to figure out my next meal. As the saying goes, if you don't plan ahead, trouble finds you soon enough. Just because I had a pound of eggs didn't mean I could stop scheming. By lunchtime, viewers finally got their first look at the other 2 contestants, Ji Mingchuan and Enlan. Both of them ate only 2 meals a day, starting from noon, which meant skipping breakfast conveniently saved them a meal. Since their meal times lined up, the 2 of them had found some common ground. Together, they went to a nearby convenience store and bought a wholesale box of instant noodles, splitting it evenly. The price was reasonable, the portion wasn't so much it would go to waste, and they could switch up flavors easily. While the 2 of them got back to the dorm to prepare their noodles, Meng Wei wasn't sitting idle either. The moment I stepped out, she seized the chance to gossip, twisting the story to suit her. That Fu Yencheng guy is seriously stingy, he actually tried to charge me for 2 eggs today. I bet he's just trying to squeeze money out of us to win. You all better watch out, don't let him scheme you. The words had barely left Meng Wei's mouth when Ji Mingchuan spotted a figure standing at the kitchen doorway. Meng Wei followed his gaze and flinched, caught red-handed. Ji Mingchuan, trying to cut the awkward tension, spoke first. You need the kitchen? No, I'm heading out to eat. Looking at Ji Mingchuan's thin frame and the instant noodles in his hand, whatever scrap of conscience I had left nudged me to ask, want to come with? It wasn't like I'd be paying for it either way, I didn't mind letting them tag along for a free meal. Who knew how many meals I'd be skipping down the road, so a free good meal now was worth taking. No thanks. You're too good at business, eating with you might end up costing us more than we bargained for. She'd been dropping hints all morning waiting for exactly this kind of invitation, but he hadn't taken the bait until now. Too little, too late. Besides, who knows if that whole egg-selling stunt this morning gave him some new idea, some scheme he's cooking up to trick us out of our money. Only then did I finally glance over at Meng Wei, feigning confusion as I looked left and right. I wasn't even talking to you. Who exactly are you answering? That little move left Meng Wei completely humiliated on the spot. Even Ji Mingchuan and Enlan could barely hold back their laughter at my remark. Meng Wei's face darkened instantly. Fu Yencheng really knows how to clap back at passive-aggressive shade. Why is this girl trying to isolate Fu Yencheng from everyone else? Why isn't she mentioning that she tried to mooch eggs off him? Classic fake nice type getting exposed, can't handle losing. I wonder if Fu Yencheng's got another free food trick up his sleeve. Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to it. Ji Mingchuan turned to exchange a glance with Enlan beside him, then looked away, tearing open his bag of instant noodles with an awkward laugh. We've already got lunch sorted, you go ahead without us. Whatever Fu Yencheng's character was really like, given our competitive relationship, it never hurt to stay cautious. Fair enough, I said, nodding briefly before turning and walking away without another word. Meng Wei smirked, secretly pleased as she watched my lonely figure walk off after being turned down. She then turned her attention back to the table, watching Ji Mingchuan and Enlan prepare their instant noodles. As the rich, savory aroma of the seasoning began to fill the air, drifting up from the bowls, she couldn't help swallowing hard. You two are eating lunch pretty early, I haven't even had mine yet. Wait, who's actually the one scheming here? Is it Fu Yencheng, or is it her? Noodle bro and noodle sis, do not fall for this. Learn from Fu Yencheng and shut her down hard. Give in once and there'll be a second time, you two already have the least cash of anyone here. If she latches onto you, you're both doomed. Meng Wei stared straight at the bowls of noodles in front of them, swallowing again without meaning to. Ji Mingchuan frowned, clearly unsure what to do. If he invited her to eat, that was basically helping his opponent save a meal's worth of money. If he didn't, given how she looked, it would make him seem cold-hearted, and with cameras rolling, viewers would definitely call him just as stingy as Fu Yencheng. Honestly, winning the 5 million prize didn't matter much to him, he was mainly here for the popularity vote, hoping to land an entertainment contract. A bright future as an idol was worth more to him than 5 million anyway. For the sake of that popularity vote, and to avoid being called stingy by viewers, Ji Mingchuan pulled a bag of noodles from his own half-box and handed it over. You haven't eaten yet? Come join us then. Meng Wei, thrilled to have successfully mooched another free meal, put on a show of reluctance. Oh, I couldn't possibly, before quickly reaching out and snatching the bag of noodles. Enlan, who'd stayed quiet the whole time, subtly scooted her bowl a little further away, putting some distance between herself and the other two. What is Noodle Bro even doing? Did he graduate from some school for saints? Noodle bro, why don't you just hand over your 5 million prize to her while you're at it? Ugh, this is infuriating to watch. Noodle bro's being way too naive. Well, that woman finally managed to mooch a meal off someone else. Let's go check in on Fu Yensheng instead. Yeah, let's see. While those three are eating instant noodles in the dorm, Fu Yensheng's over there sitting in a restaurant enjoying a free feast. Talk about a gap. At a hot pot and barbecue restaurant, a banner advertised a grand opening promotion: guess 3 characters correctly and eat for free. And there I was, sitting inside, enjoying my free lunch. The poster specified 1 free meal per person, with a warning against excessive waste. Leaving food unfinished would result in a fine. So, per the waiter's request, I registered my phone number and name before ordering a single portion. Viewers were dying of curiosity over whether I'd actually pull off a free lunch, so they all camped out in my live stream waiting to see how it ended. Just as I finished eating and was about to leave, the waiter walked over. Your total comes to 13 yuan, card or cash. Called it. There's no such thing as a truly free lunch. 13 yuan is still a solid deal though. The other contestants are eating 1 yuan instant noodle packs, and Meng Wei didn't even spend a cent on lunch. Fu Yensheng might have actually come out behind on this one. Small lesson, sure, but I've got a friend who joined a free promotion and ended up scammed out of thousands. You really can't take free stuff for granted. I'm curious what exactly that 13 yuan was even charged for. I looked at the waiter, confused. Wasn't it supposed to be free if I guessed the 3 characters right? I already cleared that. Why am I still being charged? That covers the tea service and the tableware fee. It wasn't spelled out in the promotion, so I wouldn't have known either way. I stayed silent for a couple of seconds, then pulled a 100 yuan bill from my pocket and handed it to the waiter. Once she gave me my change and receipt, I stood up and walked toward the exit, but instead of leaving right away, I pulled out my phone and made a call. Hello, I'd like to file a complaint. Under normal circumstances, tableware should be provided free of charge by a restaurant. Charging for it without the customer's consent is against the law. As for the tea fee, I never even ordered tea. Wasn't that just blatant fraud? The viewers in my live stream couldn't hear the other end of the call, but they watched me go quiet for a moment, listening carefully before glancing down at the receipt in my hand. Yes, I have solid evidence right here. The relevant authorities worked fast. In under 5 minutes, while I stood outside the restaurant with my arms crossed, the owner personally came out and invited me back in, leading me into his office to sort things out. The owner greeted me with a strained, apologetic smile. Hello there, I'm the owner of Fuxiyuan Hot Pot and Barbecue. Name's Meng, if you don't mind me asking yours. After introducing himself, owner Meng sat down across from me. Look, if you've got any complaints, just tell me directly. There's no need to take it this far. I'll refund you right now, but I'll need that receipt back first. Keeping my expression calm, I reached into my pocket for the receipt, but paused halfway, then pulled my hand back. The owner visibly flinched at the gesture. I raised an eyebrow. You'll refund me, sure, but you're just going to keep scamming the next customer, aren't you? Owner Meng swallowed his irritation and forced himself to explain patiently. That's not fair to say. This isn't a scam, the whole industry runs this way, kid, you just don't know it. But if you're still not satisfied, how about this? Next time you come, I'll comp your entire meal, no charges at all. I didn't budge. This isn't about 1 free meal. Such an obvious hint, surely a man like owner Meng, who'd been around the block, could read between the lines. A flicker of suspicion crossed his eyes before he decided to just lay it out plainly. Then what do you want? Some kind of more substantial compensation? I repeated the phrase back, loaded with meaning. More substantial compensation? I said nothing else after that, just held his gaze with a pointed look. Owner Meng, priding himself on being sharp, caught on instantly and forced a smile. How about 10 free meals? Wait, how about 3 free meals? I stayed quiet. Owner Meng, ever the smart one, assumed I still wasn't satisfied. 5 meals? I put on a look like I had more to say but was holding back. What I'd actually meant to bring up wasn't even this, but turning down free perks handed to me by a shady owner would just be cruel, especially to myself. 10 free meal vouchers were nothing to scoff at. And you'll still refund what I already paid, right? Of course, that'll be refunded. Great, refunded. So what's next? Well then. It took owner Meng a good while to realize what I was implying. His frown deepened, molars nearly grinding to dust, though he still managed to force out a strained smile. How much more compensation do you want? They're actually arguing about this now. Hold on, I was about to say Fu Yensheng played that smart, but listening to this exchange, doesn't it kind of sound like 2 crooks squabbling over the split? How is what Fu Yensheng's doing any different from that shady restaurant owner? Honestly, those two are basically the same kind of person. A little disappointed in Fu Yensheng, NGL. I thought he was actually one of the good guys. Fu Yensheng was the one who got scammed first. Is it really that weird for him to use the same tactic to get his money back? That logic makes sense in theory, but this has crossed into different territory now. At first, he was just standing up for his rights. But if he keeps pushing for more and more compensation like this, it starts looking less like justice and more like extortion. The whole free lunch scandal blew up online instantly, and even though I just started filming, I was already the most talked about contestant of the bunch. What owner Meng didn't realize was that every bit of this had been broadcast live, thanks to the hidden camera I had on me. He had no idea, but I sure did. Pushing my luck too far like some greedy extortionist just wasn't an option. If this went out live, every word and action of mine would be magnified online, scrutinized by bloggers and so-called experts questioning whether what I was doing was even legal. Still, letting a shady owner like this Mr. Meng off too easy just didn't sit right with me. I mulled it over for a moment. Then settled on something reasonable: free tableware for customers going forward, no more charging for tea service, and as for my own compensation, just whatever the law actually required, nothing extra. Owner Meng's face went pale, and not just his. Even the trolls who'd been ready to drag me through the mud online suddenly found themselves eating their words. Thanks to those haters, my public image shot up several notches instead, and the jealous crowd who'd tried to kick me while I was down ended up handing me an unexpected wave of buzz and goodwill for free. Owner Meng outwardly agreed to my terms, planning to placate me for now, and followed the regulations to pay me a 500 yuan compensation, on top of the 10 free meals he'd already promised. After I left, the waitress standing nearby asked, "Boss, are we actually canceling those service charges?" Owner Meng leaned back on the sofa, glaring darkly at my retreating figure. Who does he think he is? Thinks he's some kind of hero come to save the world? Wanting to speak up for other customers, how naive. Forget him. Keep charging like normal. A few seconds later, I suddenly remembered something and turned right back around to Owner Meng's office. I pushed the door open and poked my head in. Owner Meng, mid-sip of his tea, glanced up and nearly choked at the sight of my head suddenly appearing in the doorway. I flashed him a friendly smile. "Oh, almost forgot to mention, this is all being live-streamed. The whole internet's watching to make sure you keep your word, so I really hope you follow through." With that, I gave him a cheerful smile and walked out. Meanwhile, in the office of Nanxing Entertainment, CEO Gu Nanji turned his computer screen toward the woman sitting across from him. On the screen played the live stream of the money-saving reality show, currently showing the footage of me enjoying my free lunch. After a moment, he glanced over at the woman across from him, dressed in an elegant black couture gown, radiating an air of cool, aristocratic composure. "So, what do you think? This new show I invested in, pretty entertaining, right?" Shen Yining leaned back lazily in her chair, her cool gaze lingering on the boy on the screen for a long moment. "It's decent." Gu Nanji's lips curved upward, unable to hide his delight. "Honestly, what do you think of this kid? I feel like he's exactly my type. That whole vibe he's got, not caring what anyone thinks, doing whatever he wants, never letting himself get taken advantage of. That kind of free spirit is exactly my thing." Shen Yining lifted her eyes to glance at him, a look cold enough to make Gu Nanji flinch and stare straight ahead. She lowered her lashes and went back to watching me on the screen. Gu Nanji figured he must have just imagined that chill in her gaze a moment ago. "I wonder if he's got a girlfriend. Though even if he does, that's not really a problem. I could always wait for them to break up. A guy this interesting is worth putting some effort into." Shen Yining, who'd stayed silent this whole time, finally seemed unable to hold back any longer. "Whether he has a girlfriend or not is none of your business." "Excuse me? I'm plenty impressive, why wouldn't he be into me?" Gu Nanji trailed off mid-sentence, suddenly realizing something. "Wait, how would you even know that? Don't tell me you've got a crush on him, or are you his girlfriend?" The moment the words left his mouth, Shen Yining's phone buzzed twice. Not bothering to respond to Gu Nanji, she picked it up and glanced at the screen. 2 text messages had come in. Shen Yining typed in her passcode and opened them. CUN Pharmacy, dear valued member. This week, present your registered phone number to enjoy 20% off all health supplement products. CUN Pharmacy, dear valued member, next Wednesday, our store will be hosting a health lecture with a renowned cardiovascular specialist from High City. Present your registered phone number for a free professional consultation. A free pound of eggs would also be given out after the lecture. Shen Yining's brow furrowed slightly. When exactly had she signed up for a pharmacy membership? It was only the first morning of filming, and I'd already racked up 4 trending topics. Some viewers mocked me as the poster child for stinginess. Not only was I apparently some next-level freeloader, but I'd even tried to charge a fellow contestant for 2 measly eggs, and swindled the restaurant owner out of 10 free meals. My shamelessness was on a whole other level. Other viewers argued I was refreshingly authentic, saying I'd been bold enough to expose a shady business, plain and simple. While some just thought I was a genuinely good-looking guy with real personality. Opinions were split, praise and criticism both flying, but none of it stopped me from cashing in. With official accounts jumping in to like and reshair the drama, my live stream's popularity kept climbing steadily. Meanwhile, the issue of restaurants secretly overcharging customers had blown up into a much bigger public discussion online, quickly catching the attention of the relevant authorities. 10 minutes earlier, back in the 3-story dorm the production team had set up, Meng Wei had finished her lunch and was lounging on the couch scrolling her phone. Just thinking about how she'd mooched a free bowl of noodles off another contestant, saving herself a meal's worth of money, filled her with quiet satisfaction. Looks like Fu Yencheng isn't the only sucker around here after all, she thought smugly. But the smile on her lips hadn't lasted long before it froze solid on her face. Wait, what? They'd been eating instant noodles in the dorm while Fu Yencheng was out there eating barbecue? And not just that, he'd walked away with 500 yuan and 10 free meal vouchers. And the worst part, she'd literally just turned him down earlier. If she hadn't refused, she could have been sitting in that restaurant right now enjoying barbecue too, with a share of that 500 yuan. Meng Wei's insides churned with regret, and suddenly those instant noodles didn't taste so great anymore. Something about the restaurant and the owner's build kept nagging at her, oddly familiar somehow. Before she could figure out why, the show's host, Zhao Lin, walked over with a serious expression. Meng Wei, a viewer's reported you for a rule violation. Come with me for a moment. Meng Wei looked up, completely baffled. A violation? I didn't do anything, our show runs on strict fairness, don't worry, we'd never wrongly accuse any contestant. Just come with me so we can sort this out. Meng Wei had no choice but to follow Zhao Lin into a side room, which also had cameras set up so viewers could see the truth for themselves. Zhao Lin didn't waste time and got straight to the point. Someone reported that you accepted a meal from an acquaintance. Meng Wei instantly understood, the only free thing she'd had all day was that bag of instant noodles. Meng Wei calmly launched into her explanation. The rules say acquaintance, but I'm not close with that hot-tempered guy at all, we hadn't even met before today. I only even know his name because a staff member mentioned it to me. So we're definitely not acquaintances, at most, we're just fellow contestants on the same show. And nowhere did the rules say we couldn't accept food from other contestants. Besides, it was our first day meeting, and that guy kindly offered me a bag of noodles out of nowhere. If I'd turned him down, wouldn't that have been awkward for him, especially with all these cameras rolling? After hearing Meng Wei out, Zhao Lin discussed it with the head director, and the final verdict was that Meng Wei hadn't technically done anything wrong. The rules never explicitly banned eating another contestant's food, and their relationship genuinely didn't count as acquainted. Meng Wei was cleared of any wrongdoing. But instead of leaving the room right away, now that she'd been vindicated and felt bolder, she settled back into her chair with a hint of indignation. If someone can report me over something this minor, then I think there's someone else who deserves to be reported too. Who do you want to report? I want to report Fu Yencheng. He's way too much of a threat right now. All our money keeps shrinking while his just keeps growing. Completely unaware I'd already fallen behind 500 yuan on day one, let alone that I was now being reported, I'd just gotten back to the dorm when a staff member led me into the side room. Walking in, I found Zhao Lin and Meng Wei waiting. Someone's reported you for breaking the rules. A rule violation? I tilted my head slightly, instinct. The report says you received 500 yuan and a free meal, and that the restaurant owner offered you 10 more free meals on top of that. Care to explain? I laid out the whole situation, calm and matter-of-fact. That free meal was something I legitimately earned through the restaurant's own promotion. The 500 yuan and the 10 free meals were compensation the owner offered voluntarily and legally. First, the owner and I aren't acquaintances. Second, I didn't perform any labor for him. So how exactly does that count as a rule violation? If anyone still doubts it, go check the footage. The moment you find one word of mine that's a lie, I'll withdraw from the show myself, no need for you to even say it. Sitting there straight-backed with an unshakable air of confidence, I watched Meng Wei's bravado deflate considerably. Host Zhao Lin and the head director monitoring the situation both looked momentarily stunned. Well, would you look at that, Fu Yencheng went and reported a shady business on day one of filming and walked away with bonus compensation. This kid's a natural for this kind of show. If that doesn't count as a violation, then couldn't we all just go around reporting businesses for profit? How is that any different from turning it into some kind of job? So what do you propose then? If it's not technically against the rules, fine, but the 500 yuan the owner gave him should be confiscated, and he shouldn't be allowed to use those 10 free meals either. From now on, we'll add a new rule, anything like this going forward will count as a violation. Not willing to back down either, I turned my attention to Meng Wei with mock politeness. Oh, in that case, why don't you cough up that bag of noodles you mooched off another contestant so the show can confiscate it too? Then I'll agree to the new rule. I scooted my chair away from her, putting some distance between us, my tone dripping with disdain. Go ahead, let's see you try. Wait, is something wrong with this guy? Technically speaking, this wasn't really your job to begin with, but since Fu Yencheng already set this precedent, it wouldn't be fair for the show to stop the rest of you from doing the same. So if any of you can also find a business to report and legally earn compensation from it, go right ahead. I only brought it up as an example to needle Fu Yencheng. Realistically, though, who could actually make a living doing this every single day? Wouldn't that just make you a ton of enemies? With that, the whole matter was settled. Having gotten nowhere, Meng Wei stood up without another word and stormed out of the side room. I followed shortly after, glancing at Meng Wei sitting on the couch as I passed by on my way upstairs. Being a decent person means winning on your own merit, not scheming behind people's backs. Honestly, I've got no respect for that. Meng Wei was practically shaking with anger at my tone. Excuse me, who exactly are you calling indecent and talentless? You don't get to look down on me. Who's scheming behind anyone's back here? I'm simply respecting the rules of the game. I let out a short scoff and headed upstairs, leaving a red-faced, humiliated Meng Wei behind. I'm not even going to bother arguing with you. I couldn't be bothered trading insults with her any further, so I went up to my room for a nap. After Meng Wei and I left, Zhao Lin and the head director sat down together to review the footage of my lunchtime antics. We won't even need to buy our way onto the trending list at this rate, and honestly, after that whole stunt Fu Yansheng pulled, it really did turn out well for us. Our show's reputation and overall quality just shot up a notch. The head director beamed with satisfaction, but then something seemed to catch his attention. Hold on, Zhao Lin, hold on, what? The head director's smile faded as something seemed off. Actually, Zhao Lin, what? Come in for a second. About that, Zhao Lin. The head director shot Zhao Lin a knowing, mischievous grin. Meanwhile, back on set, Meng Wei, still fuming at me, took a moment to calm down before suddenly remembering something important. She marched up to the third floor and knocked on Ji Mingxuan's door. He opened it with an easy smile. What's up? The production team isn't giving us any daily necessities or letting us bring our own, feels like they're deliberately making things hard for us. But we can't just go without, so why don't we go buy some essentials together? Sure. Meng Wei's eyes lit up with an idea. Here's a thought, I'll buy face wash, you buy toothpaste, and we just swap and share. That'll easily last us the whole month, and we'll both save money that way. Sounds good, let's go grab Anlan too. The two headed to the second floor. Anlan, apparently napping, took a while to answer the door. When she finally did, she looked utterly drained, a hint of irritation in her expression like she'd just woken up on the wrong side of the bed. What is it? We're going out to buy daily necessities together, you in? Anlan's gaze flicked between Ji Mingxuan and Meng Wei before she declined. Not interested, you two go ahead. Anlan shut the door. Meng Wei thought for a moment, then spoke up again. If she's not coming, let's go grab Fu Yansheng too. The more people, the more different items we can buy and swap around, that'll save us all even more money. Ji Mingxuan turned and headed back up to the third floor to knock on my door. I happened to be on my way out just as she knocked. I opened the door, glanced at Ji Mingxuan, then at Meng Wei standing behind him, and pressed my lips together. Something told me Meng Wei was cooking up another one of her shameless little schemes. Ji Mingxuan smiled. Yansheng, want to come buy some daily necessities with us? We're thinking we could each buy different stuff and swap around, that way we all save a good chunk of money. Swapping supplies actually wasn't a bad idea in theory, but what if something went wrong between us competitors down the line? Then what? We'd all be back to buying our own stuff anyway. I turned it down flat. Let's just each buy our own. Humph, what, you've got the most money right now so you're worried we'll take advantage of you. Can't speak for anyone else, but you? I wouldn't put it past you. I shot Ji Mingxuan a quick glance after saying that, just a small heads up for him. Whether he took it or not was on him, my good intentions only went so far, and I'd respect whatever he decided. Meng Wei gritted her teeth in anger. Ji Mingxuan opened his mouth to try to convince me further, but before he could, Meng Wei yanked him away. Forget him if he's not coming. Let's go wake up that other contestant who still hasn't gotten out of bed. Ji Mingxuan and Meng Wei headed to the second floor and knocked on the door at the very end of the hall. After a long wait, a weak, listless female voice came through the door. Who is it? The door still didn't open. Meng Wei frowned. It's Meng Wei, I'm here to see if you want to come buy daily necessities with us. A few seconds later, the voice inside answered, not interested. Rejected once again, Meng Wei and Ji Mingxuan stood in silence for a moment. Something about that voice sounded almost lifeless, giving off a real, barely hanging on vibe. Ji Mingxuan had been about to chime in and agree, but remembering he was here trying to break into the entertainment industry, he figured he'd better watch his words carefully. The last thing he needed was some hater digging up dirt on him later. As luck would have it, the supermarket Ji Mingxuan and Meng Wei went to turned out to be the exact same one I'd gone to. The moment Meng Wei spotted me, her face soured instantly, like I personally owed her money. Ji Mingxuan, on the other hand, felt like this was perfect timing, a good chance to bring up the whole supply swapping idea with me. He was the first to extend the invitation. Want to come pick out daily necessities with us? No thanks, I'm heading to grab some afternoon tea first. Meng Wei's face twisted slightly with envy. Must be nice having money. Come on, let's not hold up his fancy afternoon tea. As if I'd ever count on someone who charged a fellow contestant for 2 measly eggs to treat me to afternoon tea anyway. Meng Wei and Ji Mingchuan headed off toward the household goods section, while the viewers who'd just been furiously roasting me for being an idiot suddenly went dead silent, watching my next move with disbelief as I strolled, calm and purposeful, straight toward the bakery section. Right in the middle of the bakery display sat a white sample tray. I grabbed a toothpick, stabbed a few bites of mini cake, finished them off, then moved on to the fruit sample station, and I didn't skip the deli sample counter either. Oh my god, I never imagined afternoon tea could look like this. Fu Yansheng really is opening my eyes. Classic Fu Yansheng, still the same stingy freeloading legend. Low-key mooching, high-key calling it afternoon tea, I'm taking notes. Meanwhile, Meng Wei and Ji Mingchuan had no idea whether they'd even get a chance at afternoon tea themselves later. Over in the household goods aisle, the face wash Meng Wei had in mind turned out to be a 2 yuan bar of soap. It was the cheapest bar of soap the entire supermarket had to offer. Ji Mingchuan blinked in surprise. I actually use facial cleanser to wash my face. Meng Wei dropped the soap into the cart and launched into a patient lecture. Why would you need facial cleanser? Look at our financial situation right now. Besides, this soap works for your face and your body, no need to even buy body wash. Such a deal. And honestly, if we go buying facial cleanser right now, viewers will absolutely roast us for being clueless. We signed up for a money-saving show, remember? The whole point is saving money, not looking pretty. Ji Mingchuan reluctantly gave in. But when it came time to pick toothpaste, Meng Wei spent forever browsing before choosing one that cost over 30 yuan. Ji Mingchuan thought it was a bit pricey, but Meng Wei had an answer ready. We need decent toothpaste, or we'll be live streaming with yellow teeth for a whole month. Ji Mingchuan was convinced yet again. Right after, Meng Wei flashed a sly grin. See, this soap doubles as body wash too, saves us from buying shower gel. One product, two uses. Shouldn't you buy something else too, so the swap's fair between us? Something suddenly felt off to Ji Mingchuan, but he didn't want to make things awkward. If you feel like it's unfair, how about I just buy my own bar of soap and we skip the swap altogether? Meng Wei's smile froze. It wasn't like she couldn't afford her own soap, but wait, since when did this guy get so hard to fool? He quickly backpedaled. I was just joking, just kidding around. Ji Mingchuan laughed it off and let the matter drop, figuring viewers would start calling him just as stingy as me otherwise. Meanwhile, having finished my little sampling tour, I strolled leisurely over to the household goods section, where I happened to run into Ji Mingchuan and Meng Wei again. They'd already finished their shopping, and Ji Mingchuan was now heading toward the skincare aisle. Spotting me, Ji Mingchuan smiled. Fu Yansheng, want to pick out skincare together? We could swap products and cut down on costs. I know you've got more money than us, but in our situation, every bit saved helps. I don't use skincare products, so there's nothing for us to swap. Ji Mingchuan didn't push further, though he silently thought to himself that this guy was genuinely difficult to get along with. I headed straight for the household goods I actually needed, browsing items while cross-checking prices across a few different apps on my phone. I compared the prices carefully and went with whichever option offered the best deal. In the end, I placed my order through the most cost-effective app, using a platform coupon that knocked 10 yuan straight off the total. Fu Yansheng really is something else, even comparing prices across 3 different platforms just to buy household goods. Honestly, Fu Yansheng's basically just describing how I shop every single day. I walked out of the supermarket completely empty-handed, since the app had a delivery service that would drop everything off right at the dorm entrance. On my way, I happened to run into Lan, Meng Wei, and Ji Mingchuan. I gave them a brief, unsurprised nod as a greeting, then walked straight into the restaurant to enjoy my free dinner. The other 3, however, weren't so lucky. The hot pot and barbecue place's promotion had suddenly been cancelled. Staring at the restaurant storefront, Meng Wei looked like she was about to lose it. Wait, isn't this my dad's new restaurant? And there she was, standing right outside her own family's restaurant, trying to mooch a free dinner, only to get turned away at the door by her own family's staff. What kind of nightmare was this? And the worst part? Fu Yansheng was the one who'd reported this very restaurant, which meant the 500 yuan and 10 free meals he'd walked away with had literally come out of her own father's pocket. And right now, that infuriating guy was sitting inside her family's restaurant, happily enjoying a free hot pot, while she stood outside, watching helplessly through the glass. Just thinking about it made Meng Wei's expression turn absolutely sour. Everyone assumed she was just upset about missing out on free barbecue, so no one thought much of it. Ji Mingchuan asked, curious. What a coincidence, huh? How did the promotion end right after Fu Yansheng finished his free meal? What Ji Mingchuan really wanted to ask was, did Fu Yansheng have some kind of special connection to the restaurant owner? Was he cheating his way to the top through some backdoor deal? He didn't have the nerve to say it outright, but everyone present understood exactly what he was implying. Meng Wei, who'd been at odds with me all day, suddenly spoke up. Fu Yansheng has no connection to this restaurant's owner. And Lan raised an eyebrow, turning to look at Meng Wei, surprised she'd suddenly jumped to my defense. How would you know that? This was her own family's restaurant, of course she'd know whether there was a connection or not. She wasn't defending me out of any goodwill, she just didn't want anyone paying too much attention to her family's business. Meng Wei scratched at her brow. Given how stingy Fu Yansheng is, his everyday life is clearly rough, so there's no way he'd know some restaurant owner personally. In the end, it was one of the waitstaff who cleared things up for everyone. No idea what happened this afternoon, but we suddenly got flooded with customers. Our boss couldn't handle the volume, so he had no choice but to cancel the promotion early. If people were actually paying, that'd be one thing, but it was all free. At this rate, this new place can't sustain the cost or the staffing. As for why the restaurant had suddenly been swarmed with customers, that obviously had everything to do with my live stream. When I'd come in for my free lunch, the place had barely had a few tables filled. But once word spread and traffic surged in the afternoon, owner Meng, unable to handle the pressure, had no choice but to cancel the free promotion. The freeloaders grumbled and wandered off, though plenty of paying customers stuck around too. Owner Meng's gloomy expression instantly brightened. Aside from the one table I was sitting at, which felt like a bit of an eyesore to him, business overall was looking great. The next second, though, owner Meng spotted an achingly familiar figure standing at the entrance. Wasn't that his own daughter out there? Meng Wei spotted her father too, watching him smile and walk her way. She quickly started making frantic faces at him, signaling him to pretend he didn't know her. Confused but obedient, owner Meng played along. Seeing there was no free dinner to be had, Lan and Ji Mingchuan gave up and headed off, disheartened. Meng Wei, using the bathroom as an excuse, slipped inside the restaurant, shooting her father another meaningful look. Once inside, she removed her hidden camera equipment and switched it off. Her father followed her in. "What's going on with you, acting all weird? Were those two standing next to you your friends? Why didn't you invite them in to eat, and let them check out our new place while you're at it?" Meng Wei glanced toward the entrance to make sure no one was coming, then explained in a low voice. "I'm on a reality show right now, and it's being live-streamed, so it's not really convenient." A reality show? Meng Wei laid out the whole situation for her father, who listened looking utterly baffled. "So you and that guy outside who reported me are actually competitors on the same show?" "Yeah. Actually, when I first walked up, I was even thinking about looking for some violation to report myself, figuring I'd copy Fu Yansheng and score like 20 free meals out of it. Turns out it's our own family's restaurant." A thought suddenly struck her father, and his brow furrowed. "So you and those other two contestants were all planning to mooch a free meal here and then copy Fu Yansheng's trick to report me?" Meng Wei nodded honestly. Her father clutched his chest, feeling like his usually solid health had just taken a hit out of nowhere. "So everyone's just decided to fleece their one and only sheep, huh?" Meng Wei looked at him with pleading eyes. "Dad, the rules say we can't accept meals from people we know, so can you run another free promotion tomorrow? I really want that barbecue too. If I come as part of the promotion, it won't count as a violation." She hadn't even been that hungry back at the dorm, but the second she got a whiff of that smell, she couldn't resist. Meng Wei swallowed and kept going. "Plus, that'll save me a whole meal's worth of money. If I win, that's 5 million yuan on the line, and who knows, maybe I could even land an entertainment contract and become a star out of this." Given the crowds they'd be dealing with, another free day would eat into cost significantly, but thinking of his daughter, her father gritted his teeth. "Fine, I'll run another free promotion tomorrow." Once things were settled between them, Meng Wei turned to leave but suddenly let out a small laugh. "Oh, one more thing, think you could find a way to get Fu Yansheng disqualified? Because that compensation you gave him has put him so far ahead of me financially in the show now that beating him is going to be nearly impossible. If he breaks a rule, he'll get kicked off the show. Just don't contact him directly, since it's all being live-streamed." "Fine. Contacting him privately shouldn't be too hard, right? Everyone who joins our free promotion has to register as a member and leave their contact info. I'll grab Fu Yansheng's number from our system later, then do everything I can to bait him into breaking a rule so I can report him." As Meng Wei headed toward the exit, she shot me an icy, envious glare, watching me enjoy my hot pot for a long moment before finally walking away. Was that stare from Meng Wei practically drooling with jealousy? Drooling? Huh? Nah, more like she wants to toss Fu Yansheng straight into that hot pot and boil him alive. Having walked all the way from the dorm to save bus fare, Meng Wei now had to walk all the way back with nothing to show for it. Starving and parched by the time she was halfway there, she couldn't help stopping at a small roadside restaurant when she passed by. Honestly, who could blame her? The aroma drifting out of the little restaurant was simply too tempting to resist. After hesitating for a while, she went in and ordered a plate of fried rice and a soda. Viewers were left speechless. She wouldn't spend 2 yuan on a bus ride, but ends up spending 12 yuan on fried rice and a soda on the walk home? Isn't that a net loss? This is what they call saving money the wrong way, I guess. Meanwhile, I finished my meal and headed straight back to the dorm without running into anyone else. Not that it mattered, I could check everyone's latest movements on my phone the next day anyway, which would tell me whether my ranking was under any real threat. With that thought in mind, I went straight to my room to rest up, saving my energy for whatever money-saving battles tomorrow would bring. Before going to sleep, I spent half an hour scrolling through various apps and brand websites, comparing deals, and by the end of it, I wore a satisfied smile. Meanwhile, the production staff tallied up each contestant's remaining assets for the day and posted the results publicly. Money-saving showdown day 1 rankings. First place, Fu Yansheng, remaining balance 984 yuan. Second place, Feng Yu, remaining balance 100 yuan. Third place, Lan, remaining balance 488 yuan. Fourth place, Meng Wei, remaining balance 485.5 yuan. Fifth place, Ji Mingchuan, remaining balance 264 yuan. Meanwhile, over at the Xingji lounge, Shen Yiming sat on a couch, eyes lowered at his phone, surrounded by several wealthy young heiresses from high society circles. Displayed on his screen was a text message he'd sent a week earlier, one that still hadn't gotten a reply. The next second, 2 texts came in from an unknown number. This is old Meng from Fuxiyuan. I think you've got a great image and presence, so it got me thinking about a business idea that could benefit us both. Interested? I'll put up the money, you put in the effort. Sitting nearby, a friend who'd been sneaking glances at Shen Yiming's phone this whole time, unable to contain his curiosity and hungry for some juicy gossip, leaned in for a closer look. Wait, what? Has Zhongjing Group really fallen so far that director Shen has to personally hustle for cash now? Shen Yiming turned his head to look at him, a careless smile tugging at his lips. What do you think, if I casually mentioned to Uncle Gu that the precious porcelain vase in his study was actually swapped out for a fake over a decade ago, and what's sitting there now is just a knockoff? Would he do me a favor out of gratitude for the heads up? Then maybe I wouldn't have to go hustle for cash myself. Gu Nanji, feeling thoroughly threatened, went cold all over, forcing out a smile more painful than a grimace. Come on now, we're practically sisters. No need for that. Whatever trouble you're in, just tell me straight and I'll help, no need to go after your own aunt like that. Shen Yiming, ever so casually, added, oh, and I just remembered, that treasured bottle of red wine your mom's been saving might have already been swapped out too, come to think of it. Fine, you win, you're basically my sister. Never one to take a loss lying down, was she? After venting silently in her head, the ever so eager to please Gu Nanji finally spoke up. Seriously though, are you actually in some kind of trouble? Wrong number, he must have meant to text someone else. Ugh, fine, guess I can't even get a decent meal out of this. Meanwhile, owner Meng, worried about calling me while I was filming, had sent a text instead, but sat on the toilet frowning at his phone, waiting on a reply that never came. This kid's sharper than I thought, guess I'll have to step up my game at home. The next morning, the show's popularity vote results from the previous day were posted on the live stream. Money-saving showdown popularity rankings. First place, Fu Yansheng. Second place, An Lan. Third place, Feng Yu. Fourth place, Ji Mingchuan. Fifth place, Meng Wei. The chat exploded. Whoa, Fu Yansheng's actually in first place? Did he buy bot votes or something? Are these numbers even real? Why is that so hard to believe? He and Meng Wei are honestly the two most memorable people on this show, but there's no way I'm voting for Meng Wei, that woman just feels way too shady. If Ji Mingchuan weren't so painfully nice, I'd have voted for him, he's exactly my type looks-wise, such a shame. I get everyone else, but how is that Feng Yu person in third place when we haven't even seen her face yet? It's exactly because she's so mysterious, I'm dying of curiosity, so I threw my vote her way. The popularity results sparked all kinds of reactions online, and the contestants themselves caught wind of the rankings too. Back in my room at the end of the third floor, I freshened up quickly, then headed down to the kitchen to fry a couple of eggs. At noon, I went back to Fuxiyuan Hot Pot and Barbecue for lunch. The place wasn't as packed as yesterday, probably because owner Meng had cancelled the promotion. Still, I noticed the same, guess the phrase for a free meal, poster was back up at the entrance today. Not long after I arrived, Meng Wei showed up too, only to get turned away at the door again, since she couldn't solve the riddle. Apparently even eating barbecue required a minimum IQ these days. Couldn't old Meng have made an easier riddle for his own daughter, or at least slipped her the answer beforehand? After silently ranting to herself, Meng Wei stood outside with a dark expression for nearly an hour. By the time I finished my meal and walked out satisfied, she still hadn't managed to step through the door. Talk about awkward, guess the back door wasn't so easy to sneak through either. Standing outside her own family's restaurant for the second time without managing to get a free meal was enough to make Meng Wei consider turning to the dark side. Even stranger, everyone's balance on day 2 remained completely untouched. I had my eggs and free meal vouchers, and Lan had her own instant noodles, Ji Mingchuan had his too, and Meng Wei was back to shamelessly mooching noodles off Ji Mingchuan again. As for the mysterious contestant Feng Yu, she still hadn't shown her face or spent a single cent, keeping up the same air of mystery as the day before. Compared to the rest of us going through our mundane money-saving routines, her unusual behavior instantly caught the attention of viewers. This Feng Yu woman is unreal, not leaving her room, not spending a cent. Is she in some kind of hibernation? Has anyone even knocked on her door? I'm honestly a little worried something happened to her in there. You don't think she's in there practicing some kind of shady martial arts technique, do you? This woman's got my full attention now, I'm voting for her tonight. People are naturally drawn to fantasize about anything shrouded in mystery, and by the third day of filming, Feng Yu's popularity had shot straight up to second place, even threatening to overtake mine. Not just the viewers, even I was curious. Someone who never showed their face and never spent a cent, with that level of patience, had to be either a deeply cunning money-saving master hiding their true skill, or someone quietly plotting something big to catch the rest of us off guard when we least expected it. Either way, it was starting to put me on edge. Then, late one night, just as everyone's curiosity about Feng Yu was at its peak, the faint wail of a siren echoed outside the dorm, sounding unmistakably like an ambulance, and it was getting closer. By the time I heard frantic footsteps downstairs, I quickly threw on some clothes and rushed down, only to see paramedics carrying a stretcher out from the second floor, a slim, tall young woman lying on it. The room at the far end of the second floor seemed to be Feng Yu's. I grabbed Anlan, who was still in her pajamas, and asked urgently, what happened? Anlan rubbed her temples with a tired sigh. This woman skipped 9 meals over 3 days and ended up passing out from hunger. Anlan had gotten curious about Feng Yu's silence over the past 3 days and knocked on her door, but after getting no response for a long while, she'd grown worried and broken the door open, only to find Feng Yu unconscious. She'd called emergency services immediately. Well, so much for hidden prodigy or deeply cunning master. I took that thought right back. The paramedics loaded Feng Yu into the ambulance, then turned to the rest of us. Which one of you is coming to the hospital with her? Going along meant covering the medical bills, and it was obvious everyone had been genuinely worried when the ambulance first arrived, but the second money came up, everyone suddenly avoided eye contact and stayed quiet. Meng Wei turned to the assistant director standing behind the camera. Shouldn't the production team be responsible for this? I mean, this happened on set, didn't it? The assistant director frowned. You all signed waivers before filming started. Anything that happens due to personal reasons during the show is your own responsibility. That's what he said on the surface, but in reality, when the ambulance had first arrived, he'd quietly instructed the paramedics to ask that exact question, regardless of whether any of the other 4 contestants agreed to go. Feng Yu was getting taken to the hospital either way. The moment the assistant director finished speaking, I bolted back upstairs without a word. The chat exploded instantly. 3 contestants ended up volunteering to go, while 1 chose to run off instead. Is Fu Yanqing seriously bailing because he's scared he'll have to help cover the medical bills? Is Fu Yanqing seriously bailing because he's scared he'll have to help cover the medical bills? Called it. Money really does bring out the ugly side in people. I'm genuinely disappointed in Fu Yanqing. I'm never voting for him again. I'm done watching anything he's in. If I ever open his live stream again, call me a hypocrite. Anlan and Meng Wei stood frozen, neither one saying a word. Ji Mingchuan actually wanted to help, but he only had a little over 200 yuan on him, nowhere near enough. He turned to Anlan and Meng Wei. Since Fu Yanqing's not going, why don't the 3 of us pool our money together and get Feng Yu to the hospital first? Meng Wei shot him a glare, teeth practically itching with irritation. If this guy wanted to play the saint, fine, but why drag her into it too? Anlan, unlike Meng Wei, didn't react much at all. She stayed just as quiet and unreadable as she had for the past 3 days of filming, maintaining her image as the low-key, barely there background contestant. Seeing the other 2 unmoved, Ji Mingchuan frowned. This was a matter of life and death. How could money possibly matter more than someone's life? Watching Anlan and Meng Wei stay silent, Ji Mingchuan couldn't help feeling secretly pleased with himself, confident he'd made the right call here. Realistically, though, how likely was it that people who'd gathered here to compete for a 5 million yuan prize would actually be noble enough to give it all up for someone else? Their cold indifference only made his own kindness shine brighter by comparison. Tonight's popularity vote would surely bump him from 4th place straight up to 1st, he thought. Unable to hold back, Ji Mingchuan added, with more than a hint of accusation in his voice, you 2 aren't seriously going to be like Fu Yanqing about this, are you? Like him? Talking behind my back again, are we? Ji Mingchuan froze and turned around to see me standing there, having just sprinted down from upstairs, completely out of breath. I didn't have time to deal with him. I rushed straight past and climbed into the ambulance with the paramedics, leaving the other 3 standing there, stunned. Wait, why is Fu Yanqing back? What did he even go back to his room for just now? Wait, did he actually run back to grab money? Oh no, does that mean everything I just posted? Please don't tell me I'm about to eat my words this fast. At Jiangshi Hospital, I finished paying the bill, folded the receipt neatly into my pocket, and sat down on a stool beside the hospital bed to wait for Feng Yu to wake up. Luckily we'd gotten there in time, nothing serious, just a glucose drip needed. About half an hour later, there was movement on the bed. My eyelids felt heavy, my voice rough with drowsiness. You're awake? How are you feeling? Feng Yu turned toward the sound of my voice, her own voice weak. I'm okay. Thank you for bringing me to the hospital. Don't thank me, Anlan's the one who found you passed out and called the ambulance. I just covered the medical bill, that's all. Once I confirmed she was genuinely fine, I calmly pulled the payment receipt out of my pocket. Just remember to pay me back for the medical bill. I paused, then added, not without a hint of amusement. You starved yourself through 9 meals over 3 days just to save on food, and ended up spending 250 yuan on medical bills and an ambulance ride instead. Impressive work. I handed her the receipt, letting out a barely audible sigh. The prize money matters, sure, but your health matters more. Otherwise you'll win the prize just to spend it all on medical bills afterward, and that's a losing trade any way you look at it. Feng Yu's eyes suddenly welled up, looking to me like she might burst into tears any second. Why did this woman's tears come so easily? I'd never had to comfort anyone before, let alone someone this fragile. Feng Yu sniffled. In 20 years of my life, I never expected the first person to genuinely care about my health would be a complete stranger like you. I looked at her, my expression complicated. Honestly, if you want to know the truth, this was never about the prize money for me. My family basically forced me onto this show because they were sick of how much I spend at home. So it really was a family issue, poor kid, I thought, feeling a pang of sympathy. Seeing how pitiful she seemed, I gently tried to comfort her. It's normal for kids to spend a bit of money living at home. Feng Yu, feeling like she'd finally found someone who understood, nodded eagerly. Right? I mean, I only spend a few million a year on games, then maybe a few tens of millions more on clubbing, cars, limited edition sneakers, that kind of thing. But they just think I'm way too extravagant, so they force me onto this show to experience surviving a whole month on 500 yuan. They don't care at all whether I'm happy or comfortable. My smile froze on my face. A few million, tens of millions, such a wildly niche spending bracket, it genuinely took me a good 10 seconds to process that. So Miss Fong here had graciously lowered herself to join what was basically a reality check bootcamp for the ultra-rich. Turns out what she was missing wasn't family affection, it was a solid dose of reality. My bad for intruding. I really shouldn't have bothered empathizing with a rich heiress, shouldn't have wasted my breath comforting a princess like that. Because right now, I realized I was the real clown who needed comforting here, not her. Someone like me, who hesitated over spending a few hundred yuan, had absolutely zero capacity to sympathize with a princess who dropped millions without blinking. Just as I was still processing all this, Feng Yu spoke up again, sounding a little embarrassed. So, bro, given how pitiful my situation is, think you could give me a bit of a discount on that medical bill? That 5 million prize really matters a lot to me. It's going to decide my whole standing in the online gaming world going forward. So all that sob story earlier had just been an act, meant to milk my sympathy. Trying to weasel out of paying me back for the medical bill, winning that 5 million prize was clearly her real endgame. My eyes hardened. Sure, I'll give you a discount alright, a bone-crushing one. Want to test me? Bro, even 50% off would work. I poured my heart out to you, and this is you trying to play games with me? You know what happened to the last person who tried to swindle me out of money, right? Of course Feng Yu knew, she'd seen it online already. Wasn't it just some small barbecue restaurant owner who ended up compensating me 10 free meals and 500 yuan? Sure, her family kept a tight leash on her spending, but she had other ways to make it up to Fu Yansheng. Feng Yu spoke up immediately. How about this, if you help me out just this once the show's over, I'll introduce you to my aunt. She's loaded, and she's absolutely gorgeous. She's loaded, and she's absolutely gorgeous. Heh, she thought to herself, sure, I might not be financially independent myself yet, but I can hand Fu Yansheng someone who is, and once he's set for life financially, he'll owe it all to me as the one who made the connection. Which also meant she'd never have to worry about her family cutting her allowance again, since she'd basically have her new uncle-in-law in her back pocket. Just as Feng Yu's little scheme was clicking into place in her head, I stared back at her, completely unmoved, a flicker of disdain in my eyes. I'm not interested in women who come with a niece attached. Or how about this? I'll pay you back once I inherit my family's fortune, though that might take a while, since my old man's still in pretty good health. Once I inherit everything, I'll buy you whatever you want, forget 5 million, even 50 million would be pocket change. I shot her a glance. Huh, is your family in the business of writing fairy tales or something? That's a seriously polished sales pitch you've got there. I stood up, walked over to Feng Yu's bedside, and looked down at her with a smile. Not 1 cent off that medical bill. And if you're thinking about biting the hand that fed you, I honestly wouldn't mind letting you stay in this hospital a while longer. My tone wasn't harsh, no real edge to it, and yet somehow Feng Yu felt an inexplicable chill run down her spine. Seeing him this close up, she couldn't help but notice, he was genuinely good-looking, easily on par with those flawless male game characters rendered in full 360-degree detail. Feng Yu blinked, turning her head away to avoid my gaze. Got it. The money's in my room, I'll pay you back the second I get home. Satisfied, I nodded. Don't try anything clever. I just want my money. The chat completely lost it. Why does this line from Fu Yansheng sound like something a kidnapper would say? I'm half expecting his next line to be, pay up or the hostage gets it. This guy's laser-focused, completely unbothered by anything, money, and only money. Ha ha ha. She just tried to sell off her own aunt for a shot at that 5 million prize. Never would have guessed the stingiest guy on the show would be the one covering someone's medical bills in the end. Rich, gorgeous aunt, application temporarily on hold. Guess she'll just have to settle for me as her new uncle-in-law instead. After Feng Yu finished her 4-drip, I didn't take her back to the dorm. Instead, I brought her to a nearby porridge shop. Standing at the counter, I watched a customer swipe a membership card. Miss, any promotions for signing up as a member? Signing up gets you a 10 yuan late-night snack voucher, but it's only valid after midnight. I checked my phone, it had just passed midnight. Lucky timing. How do I sign up? Just top up 100 yuan. Oh, it requires a deposit? I'd have signed up right away if it were free. How do I sign up? Just top up 100 yuan. Oh, requires a deposit, huh. If it were free I'd have already signed up. The real reason I'd brought Feng Yu here was that, given her condition, she needed something healthy and nutritious to eat. Otherwise, given my current budget, spending money daily on food that barely filled you up just wasn't practical for me. We each ordered a bowl of porridge and a bowl of steamed egg custard, then headed back to the dorm. Feng Yu paid me back the exact medical bill amount, down to the last cent, plus what she owed from before. Back in my room, I neatly folded the 500 yuan and tucked it back into my bag. The next morning, while boiling eggs, I made 2 extra for Feng Yu, the recovering patient. After all, last night when she'd eaten her egg custard, she'd actually had the decency to share half with me, so it wasn't like I could bring myself to take food away from someone still recovering. Just from those 2 boiled eggs, the little princess got emotional all over again, declaring that between me and Enlon, we were the only 2 who'd actually been kind to her on this show. By the end of her little speech, I genuinely worried that if I didn't cut her off, she was about to start talking about devoting herself to me for life. I headed out right after breakfast, with Feng Yu quietly trailing behind after a quick face wash, not for any particular reason, just because sticking close to me guaranteed free food. A guy in a mascot costume stopped me. "Bro, got a minute? Just fill out this survey and get a free bottle of water, take a look." I smiled slightly. "Sure." I took the form he handed me and gave it a quick glance. Looked like some kind of promotional survey collecting customer info. Just as I was about to fill it out, Feng Yu's voice came from behind me. "I'd suggest not filling that out. Things like this can easily leak your personal information. You'll end up getting flooded with spam texts and scam calls, since they usually sell that data off once they've squeezed all the use out of it." I let out a short laugh. "Don't worry, Feng Yu's right, I already know all that. But it's not like I'm putting down my real information anyway, I'm using a scammer's info instead. Why would I have anything to worry about?" The phone number I'd left at both the pharmacy and the barbecue restaurant actually belonged to a scammer. A week earlier, a text from an unknown number had gotten flagged and blocked by the anti-fraud app I'd installed. The message claimed Zhongjing Group was hiring a personal assistant to the CEO with a high salary, easy work, no education requirements, and the ability to travel abroad long-term, and invited me to reply if interested. Zhongjing Group was a massive, well-known corporation back home, the kind of company my college classmates would practically claw each other's eyes out to get into. One of my classmates had landed a position there right after graduation and bragged about it in our group chat for weeks, even as just an entry-level hire. At first I figured the anti-fraud app had made a mistake, so I specifically looked up Zhongjing Group's HR contact number online and called to check. Turns out HR said there was no such position being recruited at all. As for the number that had texted me, it wasn't even connected to their actual HR department. The HR rep kindly warned me that plenty of scammers these days impersonate company or platform staff to run scams, and told me to stay alert. I hadn't expected much from that job offer in the first place, but hearing it confirmed as fake still stung a little. Viewers, meanwhile, were getting worked up. Feng Yu's right, you should never casually hand out your phone number or personal info, it's way too easy for that stuff to leak. This Fu Yensheng guy's got surprisingly low guard for someone this sharp. Feng Yu already warned him and he still brushed it off like it's nothing. You all don't need to stress this much, honestly. Just download an anti-fraud app, works great. Can't rely entirely on an app though, since even smart detection can miss things sometimes. Plus some scammers are seriously skilled, we still need to stay sharp ourselves. The 2 of us had been walking for a while, and Feng Yu, feeling thirsty and about to argue back, spotted the row of free water bottles instead. She cleared her throat and turned to the guy in the costume. Actually, give me one of those forms too." The guy in the mascot costume handed Feng Yu a form, then casually turned to me and asked, "Are you 2 a couple?" Feng Yu's pen froze mid-signature. Never having been in a relationship before, her cheeks flushed instantly at the teasing question. I answered without missing a beat, completely straight-faced. "No, just dorm mates." My unexpected move the night before had left the other 3 contestants back at the dorm struggling to sleep. Ji Mingchuan never imagined that the whole scene he'd carefully engineered would end up making me look like the hero instead. On day 4 of filming, I once again topped the popularity rankings, while Enlon and Meng Wei got absolutely dragged online. Enlon wasn't hit too hard, but that clip of her badmouthing me behind my back kept getting dug up and mocked as the ultimate, instant karma moment. Meng Wei, equally baffled, felt like I'd played things way too calculatingly. What was the difference between what I did last night and publicly slapping all 3 of them across the face with a shoe? The comments online were now completely one-sided, with the 3 of them cast as the villains in contrast to my supposed heroism. This isn't good, I need to push old Meng to step things up when it comes to baiting Fu Yensheng. Meanwhile, after grabbing my free water, I wandered around near downtown for a bit. At some point during all this, Feng Yu, who'd been trailing behind me, disappeared. I didn't bother looking for her. She was a grown, mentally sound adult, nothing bad was going to happen to her, and besides, it wasn't my job to babysit anyone. We weren't teammates either, we were competitors in an individual competition. Passing by a storefront, I paused to take a longer look, then pulled out my phone to jot something down. Afterward, I headed back to Fuxiu and Hot Pot and Barbecue. Eating 2 more meals there today would leave me with just 3 free meal vouchers remaining, meaning I could eat there through noon the day after tomorrow, which would be day 6 of filming, when my vouchers would finally run out. Old Meng finally felt a weight lift off his chest, relieved he wouldn't have to see my face at his restaurant anymore. That night, with no more free meal vouchers, I finished off my last 3 eggs. At this point, I'd truly hit rock bottom financially, 1 step away from starving if I didn't spend money. Meanwhile, Enlon had also just run out of instant noodles and now faced the dilemma of picking a flavor for her next box. No matter which flavor she picked, though, 6 straight days of instant noodles had her thoroughly sick of the stuff. As for Ji Mingchuan, his noodles had long since been mooched away by Meng Wei, so he'd bought a fresh box and still had some left. As for Feng Yu, aside from staying holed up in her room, the only time she left was to occasionally tag along with me to the supermarket for free afternoon tea samples. At first she'd been visibly embarrassed about it, glancing around nervously like she was committing a crime. Later, when the production team publicly announced tonight's asset rankings, I remained firmly in first place as the reigning money-saving champion. On the morning of day 7, the production team gathered all 5 contestants in the first-floor lobby. Host Zhao Lin flashed a mischievous smile. Today, we'll be welcoming 5 VIP sponsors, and these 5 sponsors will be spending the day experiencing your money-saving lifestyle right alongside you. Meng Wei raised her hand. I have a question. Will these sponsors be bringing their own money while experiencing this money-saving life with us? Great question. According to the rules, none of our 5 sponsors are allowed to carry a single cent on them today, which means all their expenses today will be covered entirely by you 5. Everyone froze. Wait, what? Life was already hard enough as it was, and now there'd be 5 more mouths to feed, mouths we couldn't afford to offend either. Pure despair. Even the viewers felt for us. They're really not treating the audience like outsiders here, huh? This production team's ruthless, might as well be dumping 5 extra mouths onto the viewers directly. 5 more mouths. They can barely feed themselves as it is, are they trying to drive them to their limit? Called it, that 5 million prize was never going to come easy. Now I'm curious whether Fu Yancheng's stingy enough to drag these sponsors along on his usual freeloading routine. Probably not, these sponsors are big shots you can't afford to upset, right? They'll have to treat them well. Otherwise, if a sponsor gets unhappy, they could get kicked off the show entirely and lose their shot at the prize. They'd lose their shot at the prize entirely. Inviting sponsors to experience the money-saving lifestyle alongside the contestants was the director's latest twist to keep throwing new obstacles at the contestants, all to keep the show entertaining. Noticing everyone's gloomy expressions, Zhao Lin waved her hand with a smile. Come on, look a little happier, we're live right now, the sponsors can see all of you. Besides, on other shows, plenty of contestants would beg for a chance to get this close to sponsors and don't even get the opportunity. You all should feel honored. Meng Wei cut in with a scoff. You said it yourself, other shows. Are we really the same as those other shows? Zhao Lin raised an eyebrow. How exactly are you different? Some shows don't give contestants a single cent of living expenses and just make them fend for themselves entirely. We'd love to fend for ourselves too, but your show's rules don't even let us trade labor for money. Earning benefits through labor counts as a violation. Zhao Lin's gaze swept across all 5 contestants. So you'll just have to rely on your own unique money-saving skills to win. The opportunity to win the prize is right there for the taking. Whether you can actually win it, and how, that's entirely up to your own abilities. Right now, Ji Mingchuan had the least money left of anyone, down to just 222 yuan. But with sponsors to entertain today, he was determined to put on a good show. I, having stayed quiet this whole time, finally spoke up. So today, are we all entertaining the sponsors together? Not at all. You'll need to complete a task, and based on the order you finish in, you'll each get to pick one sponsor to host one-on-one. That way, you're each spending your own money, which keeps things fair. I bet all the sponsors will want to be paired with Fu Yancheng. I mean, everyone's finances are public now, who wouldn't want to spend the day with the richest one of the bunch? Obviously, Fu Yancheng's basically the show's resident mini tycoon at this point, so of course all 5 sponsors would want to team up with him for the good life. Not necessarily, though. Sure, Fu Yancheng's technically the wealthiest right now, but that doesn't mean he's actually willing to spend any of it. Given how stingy he is, I wouldn't bet on it. Zhao Lin gestured toward the door. The task is simple, whoever grabs the card from a staff member first gets first pick. The staff member holding the card stood just outside the dorm entrance, door wide open. All 5 contestants looked in the direction she was pointing. Roughly 100 meters away stood a figure. Wait, was this just a 100-meter dash? If no one has any other questions, we'll begin now. Except for Ji Mingchuan, who bolted off in an all-out sprint, the other 4 contestants ambled off at a leisurely pace. Why compete over which sponsor to pick, after all? Either way, it meant one more mouth to feed. Why waste the energy rushing for that? Meanwhile, in a car watching the live stream feed, the 5 sponsors couldn't help but comment. Seriously, besides Ji Mingchuan, does no one else want to compete for us? Even if you're not into it, at least don't look so openly repulsed. A little effort in the jog would have been nice. This batch of contestants is rough. Just as the other 4 slowed their pace even further, something suddenly seemed to click for them. The top 3 finishers will receive sponsorship funds from the production team for hosting expenses. Before anyone could even ask how much that sponsorship fund might be, the sponsors and viewers watching the live stream just saw a blur. The remaining 4 contestants had suddenly kicked into a full sprint. I'm dying laughing, money really does make these 4 move, huh? 1 second they're strolling because they don't want extra mouths to feed. The next, the moment money's on the table, their shoes are basically on fire. These sneaky little foxes, I can't even. Ji Mingchuan never expected that despite getting the head start, he'd end up getting overtaken from behind. He just felt a gust of wind whip past him before he found himself falling behind. Wait, what's happening? Didn't they just say they weren't even interested in competing for a sponsor pick? In the end, Feng Yu finished first, I came in second, and Lan third, Meng Wei fourth, and Ji Mingchuan fifth. Feng Yu caught her breath and strode back on her long legs, handing the first place card to Zhao Lin, who accepted it with a smile. Now you get to choose your sponsor. Excited? Feng Yu, however, calmly asked a different question instead. Where's the money? How much? Wow, is money seriously all anyone here cares about? Zhao Lin pulled a bill out of her pocket and handed it to Feng Yu. So, about that sponsorship hosting fund? Feng Yu stared at the 5 yuan bill in her hand and nearly laughed out of sheer disbelief. Who on earth hires a host for 5 yuan? Well, you're always free to decline it. Zhao Lin smiled, reaching out as if to take it back, but Feng Yu snatched her hand away just in time. 5 yuan is still money, better than nothing. As the runner-up, I got my own 5 yuan as well. I stared blankly at the 5 yuan in my hand, my face practically screaming, this production team is downright stingy. Meng Wei and Ji Mingxuan, who'd gotten nothing at all, felt more than a little bitter about it. Sponsors would be assigned by drawing lots, in the order everyone had just finished the race. This part of the process finally lifted Ji Mingxuan's spirits considerably. When the drawing results were announced, Ji Mingxuan felt like the luckiest man alive. He'd drawn the card for Nanxing Entertainment. He was so thrilled he nearly burst into tears, while I drew Zhongjing Group. Back in the car the production team had arranged, Shen Yining watched the live stream feed of my result, the faintest hint of a smile tugging at her lips. Meanwhile, the other 4 sponsors shot Shen Yining looks tinged with unmistakable sympathy. Once all the contestants had finished drawing their assigned sponsors. Alright everyone, go get ready, the production team will let you know once the sponsors arrive. The moment Zhao Lin finished speaking, Ji Mingxuan dashed upstairs to give himself a full makeover. Meng Wei, though not thrilled about having yet another mouth to feed on her dime, figured on second thought that as a regular nouveau riche kid, getting the chance to network with someone truly important wasn't such a bad deal after all. She went back to her room and solemnly washed her hair with her 2 yuan bar of soap. In stark contrast to how seriously Ji Mingxuan and Meng Wei were prepping to welcome their sponsors, Feng Yu and Enlan simply went back to their rooms, crawled under their blankets, and went right back to sleep. Completely indifferent to who showed up, neither of them seemed to care in the slightest about impressing their sponsor. As for our resident money-saving champion, me, I sat on my bed scrolling through my phone, looking busy, though it wasn't entirely clear with what. Once the staff escorted the sponsors to set, they let the contestants know. Ji Mingxuan, eager to make a great impression on the head of Nanxing Entertainment, rushed downstairs as fast as he could. Standing in the first-floor lobby were 5 stunning women. One in particular caught his eye, tall, statuesque, radiating pure aristocratic elegance. This woman looks like trouble, better keep my distance. Please, anyone but her as the head of Nanxing Entertainment, she's just too beautiful, and I'm worried I might lose my composure if I spend too much time around her. The last thing I need is to shoot for the stars and end up as collateral damage instead, ruining my whole future over some woman. Not worth the risk. Just as Ji Mingxuan silently prayed to himself, host Zhao Lin walked over to the first middle-aged woman on the left, her smile carrying an unmistakable hint of flattery as she introduced Ji Mingxuan. This is Vice President Li from Nanxing Entertainment. The head of Nanxing Entertainment had originally agreed to attend in person, but for some reason changed plans last minute and sent the vice president instead. Ji Mingxuan was practically bursting with excitement inside, but not wanting to seem inexperienced or petty in front of an executive, he forced himself to stay composed, offering a warm smile. Good morning, President Li. Hello there, hello. Vice President Li smiled at Ji Mingxuan warmly, coming across as remarkably approachable, which instantly put him at ease. Have you had breakfast yet? Not yet, the production team said. Not yet, the production team said you'd handle our meals. Ji Mingxuan immediately spotted his chance to shine. Then let me take you to breakfast. Order whatever you'd like, as long as it's within my budget. This production team is seriously ruthless. They don't even provide the sponsors breakfast. Looks like Ji Mingxuan's about to blow through his entire savings just to entertain this sponsor. Honestly, sounds exactly like something he'd do. Wait, who's that woman in the middle? Give me 3 minutes, I need her entire background story. Meanwhile, Enlan and Meng Wei headed downstairs to meet their assigned sponsors. Meng Wei was paired with President Sun from Tiansheng Insurance, one of the Fortune 500 companies. Hello there, I'm Meng Wei. Hi, I'm Xiao Cheng from Huafu Group. Is everyone at Huafu Group this humble? This guy doesn't give off sponsor energy at all, does he? Come on, at least try to look the part of an important sponsor. Compared to Xiao Cheng, Enlan honestly looks more like the sponsor here. Maybe Xiao Cheng's just genuinely down to earth? The dynamic between Meng Wei's pair and Enlan's pair couldn't have been more different. Frowning deeply, using a tone just quiet enough for only the two of them to hear. Shen Yining glanced at her coolly. What are you doing here? It suddenly clicked, Shen Yining had just recently taken over Zhongjing Group. None of your business. Maybe her aunt had come out in person to build up the company's public image, or perhaps to boost her own visibility, making a rare exception to appear on camera. Aunt, aren't you supposed to be paired with that Fu Yansheng guy? Do me a favor and don't give him a hard time, actually, look out for him a little. He's been really good to me on this show. The first couple days, he covered my medical bill and even boiled eggs for me specially. Oh, and whatever you do, don't tell him you're my aunt. Why not? Because he doesn't like you. Shen Yining's cold brow arched slightly. She was pretty sure she hadn't done anything to provoke him. How so? He said he's not interested in women who come with a niece attached. Isn't it possible, the key word there was actually a niece? All Feng Yu heard, though, was her aunt's cold voice delivering an even more brutally honest follow-up. If that's the case, then I suppose I could just become a woman without a niece. Not that I'm particularly attached to having a niece who starves herself through 9 meals in 3 days and embarrasses the family, anyway. But that second part landed loud and clear for Feng Yu. So her aunt was ashamed of her and wanted to cut ties completely, huh? How could this woman be so heartless? We're blood relatives, how can you just decide to disown me like that? Feng Yu protested. That wasn't me being stupid and starving myself. That was me making a statement, showing you all I refuse to back down. Shen Yining glanced at her, unbothered. Only children resort to hunger strikes to prove they matter. Feng Yu fell silent for a moment, at a loss for words. Just then, Meng Wei suddenly walked over. Hello, I'm Meng Wei. These sponsors were all from seriously impressive companies. If it weren't for this show, she probably never would have had a chance to rub shoulders with people at this level in her entire life. Whether or not any real connections came of it, at least getting her face known among these VIPs now couldn't hurt. On her way downstairs earlier, she'd already secretly sized up all 5 sponsors. This particular woman standing in front of her, in looks, presence, and style, clearly outshone every other sponsor in the room. Naturally, she wasn't about to let an opportunity like this slip by. As she spoke, Meng Wei extended her hand for a handshake with Shen Yining. Shen Yining's gaze settled on Meng Wei. She didn't reach out to shake her hand, just stared at her in silence. An inexplicable chill of fear and tension crept over Meng Wei, who suddenly regretted walking over to introduce herself at all. After a few tense seconds, Shen Yining finally spoke, her tone almost bored. I know exactly who you are, the one too cheap to buy your own eggs, so you tried mooching off a male contestant instead. That's you, isn't it? Meng Wei's face flushed bright red, and viewers burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, this beauty does not hold back, does she? I'm dying. This sponsor just said exactly what I've been dying to say to Meng Wei's face this whole time. I like this woman already, someone who calls things exactly as they are and stands up for others. Having said her piece, Shen Yining showed no intention of taking it back. Meng Wei forced an awkward, brittle laugh, her fingers curling in midair before she awkwardly withdrew her hand. That's not true, you must be misunderstanding, I'm not that kind of person. Sensing Shen Yining clearly wasn't fond of her, Meng Wei decided not to push her luck further. After forcing out a couple of polite pleasantries, she led her own sponsor off to breakfast. Once outside, feeling thoroughly humiliated, Meng Wei fumed inwardly, so what if she's got a bit of money? Who does she think she's fooling? Once I've got real money, I'll make sure to pay back today's humiliation twice over. Anlan, unlike Meng Wei, made no attempt to curry favor with Shen Yining. She simply greeted Xiao Cheng and led him upstairs. She walked ahead, with Xiao Cheng trailing obediently behind her. Viewers were full of speculation. If I didn't already know Xiao Cheng was a sponsor, I'd have assumed this was Miss An and her personal butler. Honestly, is Anlan actually the most mysterious contestant on this whole show? She's got such a low-key vibe to her. She's barely had any screen presence so far, but knowing this production team, there's no way they'd cast someone with nothing interesting going on. Agreed, the stingy Fu Yansheng, the shameless freeloader Meng Wei, the 9 meals in 3 days Feng Yu, the overly saintly Ji Mingchuan, every single one of them stands out on their own. Anlan's the only one who seems this normal, this ordinary, which honestly makes her the strangest one of all. There's no way a production team goes out of its way to cast someone this bland with zero standout traits. That would kill the drama. Agreed, though personally I lean toward all 5 of them actually being hired actors. Feng Yu's assigned sponsor was Director Fang from AC Group, a stern-faced man radiating serious executive authority. Xiao Yu, come along, let's go get breakfast together. His tone was pure command, addressing a subordinate. He turned and walked off without so much as glancing back at Feng Yu, practically looking down his nose at her. Watching his retreating back, Feng Yu felt distinctly uncomfortable. Ugh, who does he think he is, ordering me around like that? Was she really the kind of person people got to just boss around? And the kicker was, this Director Fang was about to be spending her money, so who exactly did he think he was talking to like that? Not buying into it for a second, Feng Yu didn't care in the slightest whether she risked offending a sponsor. She turned right around and went back upstairs to keep sleeping. Director Fang walked a few steps before realizing Feng Yu wasn't following, forcing him to turn back around. By the time he made his way back, his expression had soured considerably. Left with no other option, he headed upstairs himself to track her down. Down in the first-floor lobby, Shen Yining was left standing alone, the only sponsor still unclaimed after everyone else had been whisked away. Standing there by herself, she suddenly looked oddly forlorn, almost pitiful in her solitude. Worried Shen Yining might be annoyed, Zhao Lin quickly spoke up. Let me go upstairs and hurry the last contestant along. No need. The words had barely left her mouth when a figure appeared, descending the stairs. Spotting that slender silhouette standing in the lobby, I walked straight over and extended my hand. Hi there, nice to meet you, I'm Fu Yansheng. Shen Yining's lips curved slightly as she slowly raised her hand, her slender, pale fingers resting against my calloused one. Shen Yining. Mind if we head upstairs to talk first? Sure thing. Viewers erupted in shock. Wait, that's the head of Zhongjing Group? She's gorgeous. No wonder people fight tooth and nail every year for a job at Zhongjing Group. With a boss that good-looking, you'd probably show up to work happy every single day. Is it just me, or is Shen Yining treating Fu Yansheng completely differently than she treated Meng Wei? I led Shen Yining up to the 3rd floor, into my own room, which had no live cameras inside. The moment Shen Yining stepped into my room, before she even had a chance to look around, I immediately turned and shut the door firmly behind us. Shen Yining turned to face me, one eyebrow raised slightly, silently asking what exactly I thought I was doing. I leaned lazily against the door, arms crossed. You genuinely don't have a single cent on you, do you? That's your big question for me? Yeah, you're the show's sponsor, after all. I honestly can't believe the production team would have the nerve to confiscate every last cent off a sponsor, forcing you to go hungry right alongside the rest of us. Shen Yining tilted her head with a faint smile, then casually spread her arms wide, her dark eyes locking onto mine. If you don't believe me, feel free to search me. A beat later, she added, unhurried, whatever you find, it's all yours. As Shen Yining stood there with her arms spread open, whatever faint hope I'd been clinging to instantly evaporated. Well, so much for shaking down a sponsor for some quick cash. Turns out even the show's sponsors weren't allowed backdoor exceptions. Guess I'm really on my own for this one, my stomach growling in protest already. No need to search you, I trust you completely, Director Shen. Shen Yining's palm dampened slightly. In that case, if there's nothing else, I'll head down and wait for you. Sure, just wait for me on the first floor, I'll be quick. I was busy filling out some form earlier and haven't even washed my face yet, no rush. Right after, Shen Yining's red lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to add something else. After a couple seconds of silence, she decided against it. I stepped aside and opened the door for her, but as she passed by me, she suddenly paused. Boys need to learn to protect themselves, don't just let random women into your room so easily next time. With that, she walked out. I watched her retreating figure, utterly speechless. Wait, not even 3 minutes in and Director Shen's already back out? What exactly happened in there? Is there something so scandalous even us noble VIP viewers aren't allowed to hear about? I honestly thought Fu Yancheng was about to make a move on her, but Director Shen walked out completely unscathed. Ha, you must be new here. Speaking as a longtime fan, there's zero chance Fu Yancheng would ever make a move for romance. The only thing he'd ever make a move for is money. Honestly, I bet Fu Yancheng's trying to seduce a sponsor to cheat his way into first place. I mean, she's the head of Zhongjing Group, any normal person would be falling over themselves to suck up to her. It's not that I wouldn't want to network with her, honestly, I'd love nothing more than to land a job at Zhongjing Group, but currying favor was never going to be that easy. I had no money to bribe anyone with, and talk alone without real skill to back it up wasn't going to cut it either. When would a top executive ever actually give someone like me a real chance to prove myself? And seducing my way in was completely off the table too. The whole point of me working hard for money was to build a better life for myself and the people I loved, not to become someone my loved ones would feel ashamed of or worried about. So realistically, focusing on the 5 million right in front of me made a lot more sense. Satisfied with that thought, I headed downstairs and found Shen Yining sitting on the couch. Have you eaten breakfast yet? If not, let's go together. I haven't. Shen Yining stood and followed behind me, with no idea what I might be about to feed her. Honestly, she felt more than a little uneasy about it, and viewers held their breath right along with her. Anywhere I went tended to test one's thick skin and mental fortitude. If you didn't have thick enough skin or strong enough nerves, there was no way you were getting a free meal alongside me. The two of us walked for about 20 minutes before finally arriving at our destination, a newly opened breakfast restaurant. Plastered across the restaurant's big glass windows were the words, "Grand Opening, free porridge every night." Spotting the two of us standing outside, the shop owner, rag still in hand from wiping down tables, waved us over enthusiastically. "Come on in, you two, don't just stand out there. Come take a look, see what you like." I strolled inside without a hint of hesitation, flashing my most innocently charming smile. "Ma'am, I noticed your sign out front says free porridge. But if every customer who walks in only orders porridge, wouldn't that end up costing you a ton?" The owner sized the two of us up for a moment. "Oh, don't you worry about that, we wouldn't run this kind of promotion if we weren't ready for people to eat however much they want." I flashed her my brightest smile. "Wow, you're so generous, and so pretty too." The owner beamed at the compliment, practically glowing, and quickly led me toward the self-serve section. "We can help ourselves, ma'am, you go ahead and get back to work." The owner thought to herself, what a sweet, polite young man, calling her ma'am so warmly. Once she walked off, I didn't touch a single dish. Instead, I turned and headed straight for the porridge station, pulling Shen Yining along with me. This place had an impressive porridge selection: vegetable porridge, century egg and pork porridge, millet porridge, shredded chicken porridge, 6 or 7 varieties to choose from. I turned to Shen Yining with a smile. "Director Shen, this whole section right here, this is the empire I've conquered just for you. Pick whatever you like, my treat." Talk about giving it your all as a host. Shen Yining let out a soft laugh. "Vegetable porridge, then." "Got it." I ladled her a bowl of vegetable porridge, and just as I finished, I caught her glancing toward the other prepared dishes and side dishes. I immediately set the porridge aside and firmly turned her head back in the other direction. "Sorry, Director Shen, that territory's off limits. I haven't managed to conquer it yet given my current budget, so this'll have to do for now." I'm actually embarrassed on their behalf, sitting there just drinking free porridge without ordering a single dish. Embarrassed about what, exactly? Fu Yansheng's got over 900 yuan on him and he still won't spend a single cent on Director Shen. This guy's stinginess is on another level, ha, I can't with him. Poor Director Shen, ha, stuck drinking porridge with nothing else to eat. Called it. I knew this stingy guy Fu Yansheng would never spend a single cent on anything, sponsor or not. Ha, though to be fair, the porridge is free with unlimited refills. I'd confirmed that myself with the owner right when we walked in. Still, the two of us just sitting there drinking porridge without ordering anything quickly drew a few curious, slightly judgmental glances from nearby customers. Not that it bothered me much, I've got thick enough skin for that. Free porridge doesn't mean you're required to buy anything else, and honestly, if it weren't for chasing that prize money, I wouldn't want to be stuck with just porridge and no side dishes either. I took a couple sips of the century egg and pork porridge in front of me, glancing up at Shen Yining sitting across from me, half worried this high society executive might not handle a freeloading situation like this too well. Turns out, she was completely unbothered, eating at an unhurried, composed pace. Her table manners were downright elegant, like she was dining at a Michelin-starred restaurant, except every other table around us was piled high with side dishes, dumplings, shrimp rolls, and all sorts of extras. Our table, by contrast, held nothing but 2 bowls of porridge. Even with our calm, graceful composure, the comparison made us look downright pitiful. I could practically hear a mournful Eros solo playing in my head. This woman, clearly born with a silver spoon in her mouth, had probably never eaten this pathetically in her entire life. Ha. The moment the shop owner realized Shen Yining and I really were just drinking free porridge without ordering anything else, she looked utterly stunned. At least the porridge itself had a nicely balanced flavor, even without any side dishes. After my 3rd bowl, I was finally full. I walked over to the owner with a smile and asked, "Ma'am, will this promotion still be running tomorrow? When does it end?" "This Wednesday, 2 more days," the owner answered, before glancing curiously over at the woman sitting at our table sipping porridge. "Young man, is she your girlfriend?" "No, she's my boss." The owner's face lit up with sudden understanding. So that explains it, her own boss. That explained the awkward, restrained behavior perfectly. This porridge shop only opened in the mornings, otherwise, I honestly would have loved to spend the whole day here, sitting in the AC, eating for free, no exhausting hustle required. Shen Yining hadn't eaten as much as I had, just the 1 bowl of porridge, though she took her time with it. Once she finished, I frowned slightly. "Just 1 bowl? Are you actually full?" "Yes, I'm full." She was a notoriously picky eater, rarely touching anything that didn't suit her taste, but today, that 1 bowl of porridge was something she'd forced herself through, worried that if she didn't finish it now, the next couple of meals might bring something even harder to stomach. Signing up for this show was never meant to be a luxury experience, and Shen Yining had mentally prepared herself for that going in, she just hadn't realized quite how much preparation she'd actually need. After breakfast, I dragged her all over the place, showing proper hospitality, as my excuse, taking her to parks, kindergarten entrances, shopping malls, and various other public spots to snag free bottled water, face masks, snacks, and skincare samples. Then, when lunchtime rolled around, I casually announced we'd be having afternoon tea instead. "Wait, what happened to lunch? You're really just skipping it like that?" "I'll treat you to a big feast tonight, promise." "Oh, really?" I looked at her with the most sincere expression I could muster. "I guarantee it." Shen Yining didn't seem to mind either way. She curved her lips into an easygoing smile, seeming remarkably agreeable about the whole thing. "Deal." Shen Yining looked noticeably more striking when she smiled, far more approachable than her usual composed expression. They say beauty can feed the soul, but when you're genuinely starving, good looks don't count for much. Even through the screen, I could practically feel Director Shen's despair. Haha. "Director Shen, what kind of life is this?" "Fu Yansheng, seriously? You just gotta push through it, even when you can't. Director Shen is having the worst luck imaginable. Paired up with the stingiest guy on the show, when every other sponsor's out there eating like royalty. Enjoy it while it lasts, though. What really matters in the end is who actually walks away with that 5 million. Afternoon tea, as it turned out, just meant sampling fruit and desserts at the supermarket again. I'd arrived a bit later than usual today, since the walkover from the park had taken longer than expected. By the time we got there, most of the fruit and desserts had already been picked clean. I stared at the sad little pile of 3 orange segments left in the sample tray. 3 lonely orange wedges, sitting pitifully in the dish. With a heavy heart, I picked up a fresh toothpick nearby. I handed one to Shen Yining first, then grabbed one for myself. "Let's make do with this for now. I swear I'll get you a proper feast tonight. Trust me on this." Then I speared half an orange segment and popped it into my mouth. The juice burst across my tongue, rich and sweet. Starving as I was, it honestly tasted like the best thing I'd ever eaten in my life. "These oranges are so sweet today, you have to try one." Under my watchful gaze, Shen Yining's slender fingers picked up a toothpick and speared a piece of orange, my eyes tracking that orange wedge like a hawk the entire time. She seemed to be taking her sweet time on purpose, not rushing to eat it at all. I quietly swallowed, my eyes practically glowing with hunger as I stared at that orange. "You know, Director Shen, if you hadn't shown up today, all 3 of these orange wedges would have been mine. But even starving like this, I still split them with you. Do you feel the sincerity of my hospitality?" Shen Yining laughed softly. I do. Good, glad you can feel it. Sincerity is really all that matters when it comes to hospitality. As long as the sincerity's there, nothing else really matters. Then Shen Yining watched as the orange in my hand, along with the very last piece remaining in the dish, both vanished completely. Guess I didn't leave her a single piece after all, but honestly, I really was starving, otherwise I never would have fought her for that last half orange. Sponsors only had to experience this money-saving lifestyle for a single day, while the rest of us still had 24 more days of this ahead of us. Tonight, once filming wrapped, Shen Yining would go home to a feast of gourmet delicacies to make up for it, while I'd probably end up starving another sponsor along the way at this rate. Shen Yining lowered her eyes to look at the now empty toothpick in my hand, as if that half orange from a moment ago had just been some hunger-induced hallucination. Once I finished my orange, I tossed the toothpick in the trash and looked up at Shen Yining with a smile. Just hang in there a little longer, Director Shen. Tonight, I promise you a real feast, meat, vegetables, whatever you want, eat until you're stuffed. I really am starving, so I'm sorry, Director Shen. For you, this is just one hungry afternoon. But for me, this is my everyday reality, just trying to survive. Hope you don't have to come back for another round of this. Watching me make that solemn promise as the last orange vanished, Shen Yining could already picture it, 60 years down the line, gray-haired and reminiscing to her grandchildren from her rocking chair. That day, Grandma didn't even get lunch, had to make do with broken potato chip crumbs, and fight over toothpick scraps of orange just to get a bite of fruit. Fu Yanqing really did take stinginess to a whole new extreme, bold enough to steal food right out of a sponsor's hand. Wow, Director Shen's emotional stability is honestly impressive, not even getting mad about any of this. I'm switching over to check out how the other sponsors are doing, just to see if Director Shen really does have it worse than everyone else. Plenty of curious viewers ended up hopping over to other contestants' live streams, just to compare notes and see exactly how miserable Director Shen's day had really been, and just how stingy their reigning money-saving champion truly was.